Okay, so that is 11:30. So we will get started. I'm sure there'll be a couple more people who join late, but that's absolutely fine. The recording will be sent out afterwards to everyone who's registered. And as I've said, that's purely by design to make sure that we're reaching as many people as we can. So I do appreciate the 21 of you who have actually joined me live this morning. It's great to actually have some people on the call. So today we're going through running winter team competitions through your ClubV1 system. So some of the things I want to go through today are why you should run your winter team competitions through ClubV1, how to set up your team competitions. We're going to look at better balls, Texas scrambles, progressives, and then we're also going to look at some custom competitions as well. We're going to look at the booking, the charging, and the signing in for those competitions. We're going to look at score entry, and then we'll get to a question and answer session at the end. For those of you who haven't joined me for one of these tutorials over the past few weeks, or those of you who haven't caught up with the recordings, these sessions are designed to be less than half an hour. So they really are sort of bite-sized bits of information that you may or may not be using within the system already. Okay, so they're designed to be short and hopefully they'll give you some really great information to help you run your competitions through the winter. So let's get started with reasons that I think you should run your competitions through ClubV1. So now with the WHS, your winter competitions can be acceptable for handicap, whether that's individual competitions or better balls, for example. So running them through the system allow you to have them acceptable for handicap. Obviously, if you're doing them with pen and paper, then they wouldn't be acceptable for handicap. With the World Handicap System again, calculating team handicaps is nigh on impossible these days. So passing that on to your members and saying, come on, off you go and calculate your handicaps. We know that some clubs out there don't use the sort of suggested rules for handicapping. However, there is suggested rules for most of the competitions, and that's what ClubV1 uses. So calculating those handicaps for your members or for your pro is nigh on impossible. Running it through the system will allow the system to tell your members what their handicaps are for that particular competition. It's a lot more convenient for your staff or volunteers, in most cases volunteers, who close the competitions off. If you've got the system there telling you, here's the scores, here's who's entered, here's who's not entered their card, it's a lot more straightforward than having to flip through cards and do it all manually. So going through the system is absolutely the best way to go. And then just to touch back on the acceptable for handicap, if you are using acceptable for handicap, results will be uploaded to the World Handicap System, and also how did I do automatically. Okay, so they're just four sort of very, very basic reasons to go through ClubV1 for your winter competitions. Obviously, we've spent a number of years speaking to golf clubs who say, oh, well, we're getting to the winter now, we don't really run our competitions through ClubV1. I've also always sort of asked the question why. And I think a lot of the time it doesn't really support that format of the competition we're doing. ClubV1 can support the majority of formats. Yes, we can't do every single format that golf clubs do. There are some weird and wonderful formats of winter competitions out there, but we can do the vast majority of them. Okay, so I'm going to go through how we set up the competitions. Most of this, I'm sure most of you will already know, but we're going to look at better balls. We're going to look at Texas scrambles, progressives, as I call them, and then custom comps as well. So let's go through and set them up now. So this will open up my ClubV1 for us. Okay, and then as normal, we would click on Add Competition, and we're going to go to Men's Better Ball. Okay, we're going to call this Webinar Better Ball Competition. We'll set it up for next week. We'll set it up for Monday. Okay, it's going to be a Stableford. It's going to be for members. We want the results to auto-publish to How Did I Do in the members hub. It's one round and we're publishing them next, obviously, as a Stableford. Handicaps. On your systems, you will get the option here, particularly in a better ball, of whether this is acceptable for handicap or not. My demo system is not connected to the WHS, so I don't get that option of allowing it to be acceptable for handicap. If you leave it as acceptable for handicap, this option down at the bottom here will be grayed out because the handicap allowance percentage under the WHS rules is 85%. If it is not acceptable for handicap, you would click no at the top, and then you can set your own handicap allowance if you want to. The WHS suggests 85%, and I would always recommend that myself, but you can change that if you want to. Okay, you've got the same sort of handicap limits there. I'm sure you all know what they do in terms of allowing members who play off a higher handicap to enter, but play off a lower handicap, etc., etc. Then we choose our divisions. Again, same as we do throughout the year. You can have your different divisions in there. And then we choose our course cards. Now, this is an important one for the winter competition. So I'm going to choose my yellow card. But for example, my golf club that I play at, we only play 15-hole competitions through the winter. So what we can do is we can go down to here, holes in use. Are there any holes on the course not in use for this competition? Yes, there are. Okay. So then I can scroll down here, and at my club, we don't play 16, 17, or 18. The other question in the middle here is how do you want to calculate your handicaps? So the standard calculation realistically doesn't work during the winter, because what that will do is if your members are going to get 18 shots, it will give them 18 shots across those 15 holes. What you'd want to do is go to the short course calculation. Okay, so what that will do, as it says above here, is it will divide the number of shots they should be getting by the number of holes in use, essentially. Okay, so we would have 15 holes worth of shots. Then you get the option here to rationalize those stroke indexes. So what that does is it will give my holes 1 to 15 stroke indexes 1 to 15 based on where they are in our normal stroke index rating. Okay, now what that's really good for is, let's say if you're using that short course calculation, your members should be getting 15 shots. They will get 1 shot on each hole. It may be that stroke index 16, 17, or 18, or a combination of them, are on your 16th, 17th, or 18th hole. If you don't rationalize stroke indexes, they will not get those shots. So they would just get the shots as they normally get them. Okay. So some clubs choose to rationalize, some clubs don't. One other point I would make here is when you rationalize stroke indexes, if you have players who are playing off plus handicaps, they would still have their plus handicaps. So if you're playing off +3 and you're getting the rationalized stroke indexes of 15, you would still be giving shots back on stroke indexes 15, 14, and 13. Which may not be fair. Okay, so it depends how you want to do that, depends on whether you want to rationalize stroke indexes or not. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so we'll continue through there. Then we have our format. Now this is a typical better ball competition. So we have 2 players per team and we have 1 score to count per hole. You can change that, but we'll come back to this a little bit later when we're looking at custom competitions. Okay, continue through there. Filters, do you have any access restrictions? Again, exactly the same as you have during the season for your qualifying competitions, your acceptable for handicap competitions. Continue through there. And then if you want your members to book through ClubV1 and how did I do, you would enable your start sheet. You can have 2 start points. So if you have a first and a 10th hole start, you could have people starting on those 2 tees. At my demo club here, I've got set as the 1st and 12th tee as start points. Okay, the vast majority of clubs still only use 1 start point. This competition is going to be from 8 until 12 due to the winter light. And obviously this is a team of 2, so we need 2 teams per time. Okay, then you have your intervals there. So we're going to go to 10-minute intervals because this will be a 4-ball, and we're going to continue through there. You can enable reserve lists, and you can also email notifications. The vast majority of you will email notifications of tee time bookings. Then you've got, how do you want booking to be available? Do you want it on the PSI or on How Did I Do? We can enable both of those, and we can set our dates accordingly as to when they are available. Continue through there. We have zone draws. I won't go into zone draws too much because I'm sure you know what they are. If you don't and you have questions on that, please let us know and we can talk about zone draws for you. One important thing to note on zone draws, though, is at the moment we cannot draw teams. Okay, we can only draw already created teams into times. Okay, so we can't draw teams. I'll continue through there. Services, a recently added feature within the system, so you can have competition services. So for this competition, your members can book their buggies, book their trolleys, rental clubs if they need them for whatever reason, but you can then set up in here any services that are available. Sign in. Do we want members to sign in? Yes, we do. And then we get our sign in options. Do we want people to sign in on the PSI? Yes, we do. Do we want people to sign in on How Did I Do? Now, we might choose to say no on here. And the reason for that is we might choose to print sign-in labels. Okay. And if you have How Did I Do sign in enabled, a label would not print off because they only print off from the PSI. I will come back to labels a little bit later in the webinar. So we'll stick with that for now. Enable competition charging. Yes, we want to do that. And we can choose to charge our members, say £5, not £45, £5. And we can choose when we want to charge them. Do we want to charge them when they book, if you're using How Did I Do? Or do we want to charge them when they sign in? Now, importantly on this, that will charge each individual member. So it's not a case of me booking in my team and paying for everyone. It will be me booking in and £5 will come off all of my team's accounts. Okay, so we'll confirm through there and we'll use it as time of sign-in. Then you've got your score entry. Do we want PSI and How Did I Do score entry? Yes, you probably do. Continue through there. Do you want your leaderboards? Again, just your normal stuff. Do you want to delay those leaderboards, etc., etc.? And then we confirm the competition. In this case, confirm it's non-acceptable for handicap and finish. And that's our competition set up. Okay, so that's how we set up our Better Ball competition. With a Texas Scramble, so if I just come out of here now, we'll come back to a bit more detail of this. Texas Scramble, we would add a competition. We have our men's Texas Scramble there, and then we can call it Texas Scramble. Set that up for Tuesday. Okay, is it a stroke play or is it a Stableford Texas Scramble? Continue through there. We're going to have it as a members competition, not an open. The handicap limit, we have the handicap limit on there, but the calculation is set for Texas Scrambles. Okay, so that is something that is not adjustable for Texas Scramble because that is the WHS recommendation. Okay, continue through there. We have the divisions. We choose our card. Are any holes not available? We might say yes again. Take those 3 holes out. We want to use the short course calculation. And then with it being a medal, we don't really need to rationalize the stroke indexes. Continue through there. Again, the filters, the exclusions, enable start sheet. The only difference on here is that we would set it up 8 till 12, and we would only be able to select 1 team per time because this is a 4-ball Texas Scramble. Okay. 10-minute intervals again. Continue through there. Again, reserve lists, notifications, PSI booking, How Did I Do booking. Continue through there. Start sheet zones, services, sign in, and then enable PSI sign in, and again, labels. Again, I'll come back to them in a little bit. Enable competition charging, yes, £5. And we're going to take that this time at time of booking. Again, that will take £5 per member. It won't take £20 for the whole 4-ball. Continue through there. score entry, continue, and then your leaderboards, continue, and confirm. Okay, so it's very, very straightforward to set up your competitions. One thing that we haven't seen there is the sort of custom competitions, or what I call, or my club calls, a progressive. So if I go into fixtures in here, I add a competition, I will still select better ball. Okay, so this is going to be our progressive, and it's going to be a Stableford, so we'll put progressive Stableford. It's a members competition, continue through there. We're going to have the handicap allowance of 85%. You could choose to change this again, depending on your format. Continue through there. And then we're going to do yellow card. We're going to do our 15 holes in use again. We're going to do the short course calculation again. And we're going to continue through there. Now we have the format. Okay. So for this progressive, which is what my club use a few times through the winter, we have a team of 3. And then we've got the option here of counting scores 1, 2, or 3 per hole. But that's not what I want to do in this instance. So I'm going to go to custom score options. And I'm going to say on the first 6 holes, or on the first 5 holes, I want 1 score to count. Okay. Then on the second 6 holes, 5 holes even, I want 2 scores to count. And then for the last 5 holes in this competition, I want all 3 scores to count. This is where you can also set up any custom competitions that you might want to set up. So we do have waltzes, reverse waltzes, best 1, 2, 3, best 3, 2, 1. You can do a mixture of different scores to count. So we might say that actually for this team of 3 event, I want 2 scores to count on every hole, apart from my par 3s, where I want every score to count. Okay, so I would do it for my course like that. 2, and that would be 3. Okay, so that would then change to 2 and 2 and 2. So that now allows me to run a competition where 2 scores of my 3 count, but all 3 scores count on the par 3s. You can do whatever you want with this. It may be that you want to do, we have heard of it in the past, not many times, but you might do a sort of mystery competition where you're not telling your members how many scores count for each hole. So you might say 1 counts on the first, on the second, no scores count. On the third, it's 3. On the fourth, it's 1, and so on and so forth. Okay, you can do whatever you want with that. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there. We don't need to go through the rest of it. We've been through it all already. So that is how we set up our better balls, our Texas scrambles, what I've called our progressive, and our custom comps as well. Then we touch on how do members pay. So it's as simple as they pay exactly the same way as they do now. So if you take payment at time of booking through How Did I Do, this works the same way. If you take payment at time of sign in on the PSI, it works the same way. And then if your members pay cash to your pro, obviously that works exactly the same way. Again, as I've put and as I've mentioned already, all members of a team will have their cards charged individually. All members must have enough on their cards, otherwise they will get an error message to say such and such doesn't have the correct amount on their card. So you wouldn't be able to sign in your team or book them on How Did I Do. Okay, so that is an important part to note if you're booking through How Did I Do and taking that payment either through How Did I Do or taking payment at time of sign in on the PSI. All members of the team must have enough money on their card. Signing in and creating teams on the PSI. Okay, so if you use How Did I Do for your booking, the team will already be generated and your members can literally just sign their team in quickly and easily via the PSI. If you don't use How Did I Do for booking, the team will need to be created at the time of sign-in. So let's have a quick look at how that actually works in practice. So this is my demo PSI here. So I can come into here, I can sign in as myself. Sign in. And then I can go sign in and pre-register. My competitions aren't set up for today. Oh, it's because, bear with me. Right, okay, I thought I'd set up competition. Bear with me 1 second. We should have these two set up. Let me just have a look at these. Okay, so that should be there. Let me just refresh my PSI. So that will download and upload the data for us. That should then sync my system up. Okay, there we go. Right, so I can now sign in for the better ball or the Texas Scramble that I've got set up. I click on the better ball, and I am not in a team, and no teams exist for me to join. So I would now create my team. So it would be me, and I can put in Addy Connolly there. I click save. It then asks me to confirm the team charges. All players are going to pay £5, and then I can sign in my team. Okay, that little box up at the top there is because it's going to print a label for me, but I haven't got a label printer plugged into my laptop. So that is how we would sign in the team for a better ball that hasn't already been booked. Okay. The other thing I would do if I want to then sign in for that Texas Scramble, I think I've already booked in for that one. I hope I have. So I would go sign in, Texas Scramble. I haven't. Okay, so I thought I'd booked in for that. But again, we would create our team on here. We would put Dan in there. We would put Addy in there. And we can put Jonathan Cook in there. Okay, save that. Charges £5 per person and sign in team. Okay, and that would charge us all our £5 and away we go. Okay, and that's as easy as it is to sign in. If you have already created your team at time of booking, you would just type in your name and then you would just sign your team in. Okay, and that's how it works on the PSI. If you have one of our brother label printers, the scorecard label will print all of the relevant handicap information. So it will give you your individual handicap index, your course handicap, your playing handicap, and a team handicap if applicable. So this is a communication we sent out a few months ago now with the labels on it. And as you can see, the single label does individual competitions there. It does a general play round there. We have green sums, so that is team of two, alternate, all drive, then alternate shots from there. And what that's given us is all the relevant handicap information with the team handicap there, which is obviously very, very important. Texas Scramble, it gives us all our individual handicaps and then a team handicap at the top there. Foursomes, again, both individual handicaps, team handicap. And then for a better ball, in this case, this would be an AMAM, so a team of four. This just gives us our individual playing handicaps because there is no team handicap for that. Okay, so that is only if you are using our brother label printers. If you have one of the older models, the Zebra or the Dymo, they are unable to do your team competitions in this way. Okay, so that is your labels. Okay, Score entry on the PSI. If you've signed in before score entry, you will easily be able to input your score. If it is a team event with one score, such as Texas Scramble, Greensums, Foursomes, etc., you'll only get the one option to add the score. If it's a better ball or AMAM, you'll get the option to add the best score per hole or all scores and let the PSI work out the best score for you. So if I go back to my PSI now and I sign in as me again, and I'm now going to put my scores in, I then go score entry, the better ball, enter score, and it's got me and Addy there. So I can put both mine Adam's scores in, and it knows that Addy got a shot there and I didn't, so it's highlighted Addy as green. Okay. Again, highlight Addy as green. Highlight Addy as green because he's on a shot there. 3, 5. Me as green that time, and so on and so forth. The other option that we see lots of people doing is just going through and putting each individual person's score in, okay, or the best score on that hole that they've already determined. Completely up to your members how they want to do it. It doesn't make a difference, okay? So that's how they would input their scores for the better ball. If it was Texas Scramble, enter score, we only have that one option to put in. So we would go through, put our scores in, and the system would calculate everything we needed to do there. Okay, nice and simple. Go through and put our other scores in there as well. And that's as simple as score entry is for the competition. And that for me is everything I need to show you. I could show you closing off the competition, but I'm sure you all know that already. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an idea as to what the system can do. And if you're not using the system for your winter competitions already, I would certainly advise starting to use it, particularly now with the label printers, with the team handicaps, which are just so difficult for your members to actually calculate.